It's that time once again, everybody. MLB The Show 25 Early Access drops Friday, with the full release being on Tuesday, March 18th. Today, I am once again giving my top teams to use for franchise mode. Unlike last year, I'll be focusing more on which teams need a rebuild and a couple that might not be as much of a project, kind of maybe more of a retooling and whatnot. As you're watching this video, the poll will be up as well for which team you would like to see me use for franchise this year on MLB 25. So if you're interested, check it out. Link is in the description and pinned in the comment section, as well as you can check the community tab on my channel. All right, now let's get into it. First up, I'm going to go over the honorable mentions. Obviously, without a doubt, the biggest rebuild for any team would be the worst team in modern MLB history, and that's the Chicago White Sox. I'm not doing them again because I just did that at the end of the MLB The Show 24, and honestly, I want no part of dealing with my favorite baseball team right now. I just don't want anything to do with it. The Los Angeles Angels are another. Now, I would consider them, but I have recently done them. I did them on MLB 23, so I'm just kind of going to avoid that. I mean, that was a recent one when Shohei was still there, so yeah. Then we had the Washington Nationals are another, which unfortunately, that franchise was ended due to a corrupted file, which I was doing on MLB The Show 24, which is, if you come across my channel in the past few months, I was not happy about it at all, and it took the enjoyment away from the game from it. Like, it really just kind of pissed me off. And we also had the A's, who are in the process of moving to Vegas. They'll be playing in Sacramento for the foreseeable future. They're like the White Sox, though. Got bad ownership and just refuse to put together a winning team consistently and always trade off their pieces when they do get good. They just don't want to pay anybody. Also, it's a series that a lot of people like to do on YouTube because, the whole Moneyball concept. And finally, I had the Miami Marlins on the honorable mention list. Personally, the main reason I don't really like rocking with them is, and I don't have them in my final three. I was going to have them as a fourth team, but I'm like, nah, I really don't want to. I'm just not a fan of the stadium. Quite literally, call it selfish or whatnot, I just don't like it. I don't know why. I'm just not a big fan of being in that stadium. So, it's part of the issue, I guess. All right, so let's get into it. Here are my top three teams that I'm considering. For you guys, it might be a whole different order. But for me, these are the top three teams that you guys can vote on. So here we go. The Colorado Rockies. The Rockies continue to struggle with their on-field performance, especially when they had to get away from Coors Field. For whatever reason, they just really stink when they have to leave the mile-high air, and maybe that's part of the issue. That might be the reason why they're struggling. But they've had 4 straight years of being at least 27 games below 500 on the road. They've had 3 straight seasons finishing last in the NL West. They've also had 6 straight losing seasons altogether, and they haven't been in the playoffs since 2018. It's also back-to-back 100-loss seasons, which I know they don't have a long history career. I believe they were inaugurated in 1993, and they have now had back-to-back 100-loss seasons, which is 2023 was the first time they even had 100 losses in a season. So, what's been happening with them? Why are the Rockies kind of the way they are, at least this past year? They were young last year. They had at least 12 rookies debut last year. I don't know if it got higher than that or not. I'm not exactly sure, but they did tie like a team record. Their pitchers really struggled to get strikeouts. They only had 1,118, which was dead last in the MLB. And that was also 100 less than the next team that was above them, which was the Angels. And this makes 3 straight years of being last or second to last in this category. They also set the franchise record for strikeouts from batters, which nowadays is not really too surprising, especially the way strikeout numbers are so high. I mean, everybody's striking out at a high clip at this point, so it's not like, oh my gosh, they're the only team that's striking out like crazy. Another big reason, the Chris Bryant experiment has completely flopped. It flopped the moment he got there. His last year with the Cubs wasn't that good, especially after, he had been an MVP, Rookie of the Year, World Series winner. It's just been a disaster since he's gotten there, and he's really just been a shell of himself, whether it's his performance or it's his durability. Bullpen is another big issue for them. Pitching as a whole was bottom 6 in ERA. They were tied for the 3rd worst batting average, so opponents had no issues putting the ball in play on them and getting base hits. They were also tied for the 5th worst whip. So yeah, the pitching situation, not so great. The bright side, though. There are 2 young fielders out there, Brenton Doyle, the outfielder, and the infielder Ezekiel Tovar. They both show promise, and they both are pretty stout defensively. Not just pretty stout, they were actually so damn good that they both came away with gold gloves last year. And for Doyle, this makes back-to-back years for the young guy. So he got it as a rookie and then got it in his second year. So Doyle clearly is a problem in that field. There's also a couple guys in the farm system that are in the top 50 nationally, and that's right-handed pitcher Chase Dollander and outfielder / third baseman Charlie Condon, who was drafted last summer. So he would kind of take a little bit of time before he gets there. I think Dollander could actually make his debut this year, apparently, is what the projection is. And there's also outfielder Zach Veen, who could be making his debut this spring. So I guess time will tell to see if he's actually going to make that final, final 26 roster. All right, next up, team number 2. We're staying out west for this next team. Let's head to the Bay Area where the San Francisco Giants reside. They've had back-to-back seasons below 500 and finishing 4th in the National League West. 7 of the last 8 seasons have actually been 500 or worse. So they've only had one season of being 500, which was in 2022. Now, the past 2 seasons, they were just a couple of games below 500 each year. So they weren't like, oh, they're a 50, 60, 70 win team. Or I guess technically we're saying, but like they weren't like low 70s or anything like that. And they've only been to the playoffs twice since their last World Series win in 2014. So it's been a struggle for them in that West. Granted, the Dodgers have kind of pretty much just taken over that division completely, especially here in this last decade. But so basically what happened to the Giants last year, it was manager Bob Melvin's first year. So, maybe that kind of has something to do with it, first year manager and whatnot. It could be a little bit different. But they also had their highest payroll in team history, and it just didn't really yield any good results. Defensively, newly signed third baseman Matt Chapman, he struggled. He was fine with his bat. His bat didn't have any issues. He was actually kind of better than his career average. I think he did get out to like a slow start from what I was seeing. But he had the second most errors in his career. He ended up in the top 10 in the league. So, yeah, when it came to fielding, it wasn't Chapman's best year. But to keep it real, this team really was just mid. Like, that's pretty much the best way to describe it. They were middle of the pack in several categories offensively, like runs scored and home runs. They were slightly below average in batting average. Pitching was average, but they were top 10 in strikeouts, and they finished 7th. The other issue, and I just mentioned it, they play in a loaded NL West. They're led by the World Series champs, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Then we had the San Diego Padres, who actually won a playoff series. The Diamondbacks were just in the World Series in 2023, and they finished well above 500. They just kind of ran into tough competition pretty much the entire way, and if they want to compete, they're going to have to be better than just basic average. Now, the bright side, they brought in former Milwaukee Brewer and Tampa Bay Rays slugger Willie Adames. So you're hoping you're still going to get good production out of him. Hoping he keeps his power up. You expect to see continued growth out of Heliot Ramos. Hoping for the return of Jung Hoo Koo. He's coming off of a torn labrum that sidelined him the majority of 2024. You still have your ace in Logan Webb. You're going to need your former number 1 prospect in the left-handed pitcher in Kyle Harrison. You're going to need him to develop. He struggled since being in the majors, so you hope he can find a way to start balancing some things out. Now, they do also have some top prospects in Bryce Eldridge and Carson Wisenhut, which they could be in the majors here in the next couple of years. I believe Carson is expected to be there this year, while Bryce is expected in 2026. Bryce was just recently drafted, so it could take a little longer than maybe even 2026. But it does seem like they have some pieces in place that are not too bad. It's just not an easy division to navigate. And lastly, for the final team we're going to go through, let's head all the way to the East Coast. We have the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, I know this is another popular team that a lot of people like to use, especially now when you got Paul Skeens. I know he's become a big favorite of baseball and a fan favorite in general. So in 2023, they got off to a nice jump, going from 61 wins to 76, 2024. They had expectations. It kind of rose a little bit there. Maybe, they can be a fringe playoff team, maybe push for that wild card late. But they didn't meet those expectations. They won exactly 76 games again and finished 5th in the NL Central this time. And so this makes 4 of the last 6 years the Pirates finishing dead last in the NL Central. Their last winning season comes in 2018. And they haven't been to the playoffs since 2015. They haven't even won a playoff game since 2013. So if we go back and see what happened last year, what on earth happened with the Pirates? Part of the issue could be manager Derek Shelton. He took over in the COVID year in 2020, and he has 294 wins and 414 losses. So for those who want to do the math, that's good for a 41.5% winning percentage. To his credit, they have shown actually improvement since he has taken over each year, except this past season where they actually just stayed stagnant. To be fair, a couple years ago they went from 60 to 61 wins too, but then they made the jump up to 76. So, I mean, yeah, but I don't know. He just might not be the manager to get them over that hump that they're going to need. They've also had very inconsistent pitching. Besides Paul Skeens, pitching has been hit or miss, especially with what was supposed to be their ace going into the season, Mitch Keller, who's also just got a contract extension going into 2024. So, yeah, Mitch did not have his bit. Really, the last couple years, Mitch kind of been a little meh. But the bright side, All-Star and Rookie of the Year, of course, Paul Skeens. He does appear to be the next great ace pitcher in this league. We'll see if there's any sort of sophomore slump. Not sure, because I mean the numbers he put up were pretty like, okay, it's not numbers you're probably going to keep up. Like, batters are going to adjust. It's just like any other sport. They're going to adjust. You have to adjust to the adjustment. But he does look like he could be the very next big superstar pitcher like DeGrom, Verlander, and all them other greats that we've had over the last decades. Although now in his 30s, Brian Reynolds, he does continue to be a major contributor with the bat. He led the team in batting average, home runs, on base percentage, and he was their lone all-star batter. Skeens was an all-star, but, you know, this was just the lone batter that made it. O'Neal Cruz did return from his fractured fibula. He continued to play well. He was second on the team in home runs, but, you know, you still want to see a little bit more out of him. Hopefully, you know, a fully removed year from that injury, you know, and he continues to grow and get better and better. They'll need continued development out of Nick Gonzalez and especially Jack Sawinski, which he completely fell off a cliff. Not sure what happened. Maybe he had some things going on. Don't know, but he struggled so much. He was even demoted back down to AAA. He is having a nice spring right now, so maybe he's starting to get some things figured out. Maybe he had to get some kinks worked out. But, you know, spring training is also not the greatest indicator on how the season's going to go either. We've seen people have great spring trainings and then just completely plummet. The Pirates farm system still has solid prospects, though, including Bubba Chandler, Thomas Harrington, and Tamar Johnson. So they still, you know, could be in decent shape. They could also, you know, get a little better shape, get some more prospects up in there. They should be okay. We'll see how that, because the NL Central is nothing crazy strong. The Cubs underperformed. The Reds have underperformed. The Cardinals are another team that, you know, you could probably throw in the mix of teams that might even need a rebuild as well. So, you know, I know they got a lot of older Asian vets on that squad too. So, but that is what I have for MLB The Show 25 this year, everybody. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Any feedback is greatly appreciated. Let me know who I got wrong and what other info I should have added into these type of videos so I can keep doing these and, you know, getting better and better each year as we go along. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the poll for my franchise is up on who I should use this year. I love having you guys, you know, I like letting you guys, you know, be able to pick the team. I can easily pick it. I got a couple teams in mind that I, you know, would love to. I can go either way with either of the three that I got. But I would love for you guys to, you know, be able to show what you guys really want to see, man. That's what, you know, I love allowing you guys to have that opportunity so you guys can see what we can build here. But I appreciate you all who do decide to check out the new series, and let's have a good MLB The Show 25 run. And hopefully, they have fixed the corrupted file issue. Hey, San Diego Studios, I'm talking straight to you. Don't do it again, because it might be the last one. But like I said, that's where I'm going to wrap things up, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys hit the like button, comment down below. Subscribe if you are new and you are excited for MLB The Show 25. I will catch you guys in the next one. As always, God bless and peace. Close it out, Future.
And it's the love from my fans got me still here.